I've lived in this house for 8 years. Not once have we ever had a hint of the paranormal. We've never had doors slamming or heard footsteps, nor have we ever seen a single shadow person. Until yesterday, that is. I'd had a crazy kind of day. I'm a psychologist, so I have to work with a lot of disturbed people. I had a session with a teenage girl of 14. It was a stressful one. I can't divulge into the session due to patient confidentiality. I thought nothing of it at the time, but as I drove home I had a feeling of something behind me, so I instinctively kept glancing in my rearview mirror. Nobody was driving behind me or anything. I was driving alone on the curvy country road leading up to my house. When I arrived home, the house was crazy, like always. Our son was running around with a marker, drawing on everything. My husband was running after him, trying to wipe it off. "You good?" I asked. "Yeah, can you chuck in some fish fingers for Chris?" I walked over to the freezer, and then I saw it. There was a handprint on the freezer door. It looked as though someone had played with soot and touched the door. The only thing was, yes, the handprint was small, but it was too high up for Chris. I stared at it, trying to work it out. I guess Derek was carrying Chris, and he put his hand onto the freezer. I grabbed a cloth and cleaned it off. We got Chris into bed at about 7. I was almost falling asleep as I read him a bedtime story. Like I said, it had been a stressful day. My words dragged on as I read Dougie Squirrel's bedtime for the 100th time. My arm felt like a heavy weight on the pillow. But then Chris's words instantly woke me up. "Mummy," he said, "who's that girl inside the fireplace?" I looked from the book and said, "What?" He point blank said, "The girl inside the fireplace. She looks strange. Who is she?" My throat dried up instantly. "There isn't a girl in the fireplace, sweetie." "Yes, there is," she repeated with more authority. "She has no face. She was sat inside the fireplace." "Okay, sleep time now," I said with my heart beating very loud and fast. After Chris fell asleep, I asked Derek if Chris had mentioned it, and he said, "He didn't mention anything to me," he said. "But that's actually scary as fuck." Yeah, I know. I was so tired and wanted to go to sleep and forget what Chris had said, but I had to go and check in case a friend of Chris's had sneaked in and was hiding. They liked to play around that area. What if one of them actually got stuck in the fireplace? What if they're dying in there? I knew realistically it was dumb, because the parents would have been round or the police would have shown up to look for them. The logical part of my brain knew that was ridiculous. I would have seen police cars outside their house. It would be quite hard for me to miss the fact that a girl would be trapped in our fireplace, dying. Even so, I just had to go check for peace of mind. I turned to Derek. "I'll just quickly check the fireplace," I said, walking towards the door. He laughed. "Did Chris scare you?" "Haha, no. I'll be right back." "It'll probably be nothing. Kids say strange and creepy shit all the time." I thought as I walked downstairs and into the lounge. It was dark. I flicked on the light. Just then I saw strands of long, thin black hair recede into the chimney area. I immediately froze. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I was immobilized as I stood and stared at the fireplace. What the fuck? That would mean someone was hanging upside down in my chimney. I finally took a deep breath. "Derek!" I shouted with an alarmed tone. He raced down the stairs. "What's up?" he asked as he got into the room. "I've just seen someone's hair go up into the chimney." Derek frowned. He thought I was joking, saying, "Yeah, okay," and then slowly and cautiously approached the fireplace. "Hello, are you okay?" No response. He paused, listening out for any sounds. Then he got on his hands and knees. Gripping his phone with the flashlight in his hand, he slowly moved his head into the fireplace. And then he looked up. "Nope, nobody's there," he said. "The flue's open, you know." He closed it with a loud clang. "I didn't open it," I said. "I guess we left it open when we lit the fire last, so it's been open about a week." He started to leave the lounge. "Are you 100% sure there was nothing up there?" 100%, he replied. I gulped. Perhaps I'd imagined it, I thought. Being a psychologist, I know the brain is a complex thing. A trick of the light or a hair that you see in the corner of your eye can be perceived as something completely different. Feeling braver now, I got down on my hands and knees and peeked up into the chimney to double check and saw the flue was definitely closed. Then I went back upstairs. It was 2:38 in the morning when something woke me up. After looking at the clock, I was about to go back to sleep. That's when I heard it. It was a muffled metallic sort of clang, but it was coming from inside the house. I woke Derek up. Then I ran over to Chris's room. He was fast asleep. Thank goodness, I thought. Derek came into the hallway, still half asleep. "What's that noise?" he asked. "I have no idea. What should we do?" This time it was much louder than the previous sounds. Then, that came from our lounge. Derek ran downstairs. I could hear his footsteps get into the lounge, and for a moment, there was deadly silence. Then, "Ring the police. Asterisk now." They arrived, and I realized what had him so panicked. There were footprints from the soot and ash in our fireplace on our lounge floor. They were small, bare footprints, like a child's size, and they wound around the lounge, then faded and disappeared halfway across the room. No footprints were leading back. The flue was also open. They just said it had to have been Chris, but I tried explaining he was soundly asleep at the time, and they just said they couldn't find any other evidence and left. I didn't know what to do. My mind kept going back to that stressful session with a disturbed teenage girl, during which she grabbed my hand. She was crying and just wanted comfort. Upon removing her hand, there was a grey and black sooty-like mark on my hand. I couldn't see what it was from, as she didn't have makeup on. Now, I'm even more worried. The next morning, I rang her number so we could schedule the next appointment. The voice on the other end just said, "Sorry, you've dialed an incorrect number. Please try again later." Great, I thought. Her phone's been disconnected.